So I guess we should probably talk about the game stuff. So game, I guess, what kind of games do you play the most? Like, what genres are your sort of jam?
I think probably everything except racing games. I don't really have, because I suppose cars they're just a form of transportation for me. I have absolutely zero interest in cars, and I have zero interest in sports. So any game that touches on those two heavily, I'm not interested in. Then again, probably if I had to start playing it, it would be a different story. But I tend to gravitate more towards, I suppose, the genres that I like reading in, which is fantasy and sci-fi and horror. So, things like Skyrim and, first-person
Yeah.
fantasy or RPGs, anything like that, I really, really like.
Um,
All first-person. I'm very, very, like, a first-person fan.
yeah. Have you played many horror games?
No, unfortunately not. I was just trying to think now. I think the earliest one I can remember playing, which I remembered was really, really terrible in the way of like terrible good, was when I was really young, and it was called Phantasmagoria. I don't know if
Oh,
you.
it rings a bell.
Yeah. Basically, you just have you have this weird vision, and then you wake up in this room, and you sort of have to figure out what happened. So it's like a bit of a detective sleuth kind of thing. And every time you find a significant clue, you get like a flashback. But it was it definitely resonated with me. I mean, I can still remember it today, bits and pieces of it, And I mean, I must have been 13 or 14 when I played it, so don't quote me on those time periods, but I think it was around about then.
Yeah.
The only other one I've played that I can remember is Amnesia, The Dark Descent. I didn't get very far with it because it scared the crap out of me. So, as much as I love reading horror novels, I can get through an entire horror novel without a problem. Horror games seems to have if it's too scary, I can't play it, especially if it's that thing where you feel like someone's following you, and then you turn around and there's nothing there, and then you turn back and then that's where the monster is. Yeah, that's me. That's when I squeal like a little girl and I throw my mouse away out of sheer terror. So
It's super. I can't do horror games. I watched Naz play a little bit of Amnesia, and even he couldn't really handle it. But I super can't. Like, I freaked out for him, and I used to play
exactly.
Silent Hill, which
Oh yes, oh yes.
which was creepy and gross, like gross, but it was a really good game. But I remember really late, and I was in the lounge playing Silent Hill, and this just like in my pajamas in the dark, and it was kind of like an old, kind of like Victorian villa-y kind of house, and super creepy, but I didn't think of anything of it. But as I was playing, one of my flatmates' boyfriends came in nude in the middle of while I was playing, scared the living shit out of me, and I scared the living crap out of him because there's this creepy girl in the lounge, like in the dark, playing this horrible game. And it was quite, that's my fond memories.
I think I steer away from them. My personal favorite is definitely fantasy RPG. The kind where you just, you have your main quest, but you've got all these little side quests where you're a good Samaritan and you go fetch things for people and kill people for people and things like that. That I really enjoy.
Yeah. So you mentioned you play Skyrim.
Yes.
I haven't played that yet. I'm too scared to because I feel like I'm gonna want to play it all the time, and I can't commit to stuff like that at the moment. But do you want to talk a little bit more about, like, what is it about Skyrim that you really enjoy?
Skyrim was amazing for obviously the graphics. That's really, really awesome. They did so much with the open world, which is a big thing for me. I mean, certain games have appeal even if they're very linear. You have to go here and you can't go there and whatever. That's still fine if it's got a good enough plot and good enough, everything else to support that. But with Skyrim, I mean, it's pretty much you can go, if you can see it, you can go there type of thing.
Yeah.
And that to me is very important because it's more of an exploration. You're exploring the game. You're not just playing the game. So you're not just going to all these, point A, point B, point C that the game developers have already predestined for you. So you feel like, it's got more options for you. There's more choices.
Yeah.
So that I really enjoy.
I guess what else do I want to talk about? What's a quest from Skyrim that you really, really enjoyed? What stood out?
It's been a while since I played it, I have to admit. I haven't been playing for a while because I've been so busy with my writing. But I'm just trying to think now. Damn. You got me there.
That's all right.
It's been about 3 months since I played Skyrim, so I'm trying to remember.
It's a bit mean of me. Because I've asked you.
Hey?
I've asked you.
Oh,
I don't even remember. But, yeah.
You know which one I did enjoy was, or let me put it this way, I'll say there was a certain section that I enjoyed playing. I don't know if it was part of a quest or just as you moved through the maps, but you get to this one town because I think you're you're trying to find the dragons, because there's that's obviously the main thing with Skyrim is the dragons. And you get to this one tiny little deserted town, and this massive dragon lands there, and you have to fight it. And that's quite still early in the game, but that for me was amazing because you're just walking, and the next thing, this massive grey, silvery dragon lands there, and you're like, oh crap, I wasn't prepared for this. Should I load from a save game, or should I try it? So that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that.
Have you played Dragon Age?
No, I haven't. I still have to. Although I'm playing... Oh, no, that's another one. That's Divinity. No, I haven't played Dragon Age yet.
Yeah.
I still have.
Yeah, that's one... the latest one, the Inquisitions. I played that, and it's one of my favourite games recently, anyway, that's for sure. The dragons in that are amazing. The dragon fights are so cool. So I think you'd enjoy that. I thought you might have played it. But
I'm sorry. Okay, I promise, this holiday, this coming up now, I will definitely play Dragon Age. Which one? The Inquisition?
Yeah, it's
okay.
Pretty awesome. I haven't played the DLC stuff yet. I guess, that's something we can talk about. Because time is a big issue, I think, for both of us.
Sure.
But I think most people who, have jobs and things like that, it's hard to, sit down and commit, 100 hours or whatever to play a game. I think, with story and stuff like that, do you think it's possible to make games just as good as the big ones, the big long games? Do you think you could sort of get the same intense story but in a shorter game, like something that only took 5 hours or 7 hours to play?
I think that's a very, very important aspect because you asked me about Skyrim, and what happened there is I never as much as I enjoyed it thoroughly, I had a problem following the quest because I was only playing for maybe an hour or two at the most, and that would be every 2 or 3 days. So by the time I got back to the game, I'd forgotten the quest because I think the biggest, and it's not a criticism, it's just maybe that's how the developers made it, or the story writers made it, is that they tend to sort of drop you into the middle of this vast world, and they throw all these quests at you, and all this these different characters, and this extensive history of the world, and you kind of have to, sink or swim. And I definitely had to re-look over my quest so many times, and where am I going, and who am I doing this for, and why am I doing this, So I think if you're targeting people that have a smaller time frame to play games in, the busier people, then you've got to have your story coming out in smaller increments,
Mm-hmm.
So you can't have 20 characters right at the beginning of a game all being introduced at the same time, because then it becomes too overwhelming to digest in really small slots of time. Yeah. So I would say the big thing for that, and that it's true also when you're talking just about writing anything, you've got to introduce characters one at a time. You've got to give them enough room to develop and to sort of find a spot in the reader or the player's mind so that they can remember that one character. And I think from there, then you start adding more and more characters, more and more history, you know.
Yeah.
So you don't just do an info dump on them like right in the beginning of the game. That, I think, to me is, you know, that's what gets me. Whoa, hold on a second. Who's all these 14 different people? And then you just sort of lose it completely.
Well, developing the character, that's sort of something I wanted to talk to you about. Developing a character, well, the player bond with the character in a short time frame, like within, I don't know, like 15, 20 minutes. How, you know, what kind of things as a writer should you be doing to try and to get, you know, develop the bond kind of thing?
I think the first thing, it doesn't matter how far into sci-fi, how far into fantasy, whatever genre you're in, you need to make the character relatable. So even if they've got superhuman powers and they're on Mars and it's the year, you know, 14 BC, it doesn't matter. You've got to have something that the reader can relate to, so that they can create a more realistic, how can I put it? You know, like a realistic model in their mind of this person, that they have something to say, you know, that was me, you know, in some really tiny aspect, even if it's, you know, that's what I always say, your characters mustn't be perfect. They mustn't be 100% evil. They mustn't be 100% good. There has to be tones of, you know, tones of grey, not black or white, that you just sort of, you know, yes, variations, if I can put it like that.
Yeah.
So, because, you know, even if you think about the people that you meet in life, they're not always, they might say they are A or B or C, but sometimes they're usually a bit of all of them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense. Yeah, so I guess, what are there any characters from a game that have stood out for you that you think, wow, that was a really well-written character?
If I had to take an example, like earlier when I was saying that you have to very slowly introduce readers or players into the world that you've created, I think one of the games that did it incredibly well was Far Cry. Far Cry 3, I think that was. The latest one is 4, hey?
I think so, I'm not sure.
Right, so not the latest one, because I haven't played that one yet, so the one just before that.
Yeah.
What's amazing about that is the intro video is just these four or six teenagers like having really a real joy of a time, and they're parachuting and everything, and then the next thing you wake up in a cage in the middle of an island somewhere. So you've been held by I won't say terrorists, but you know, people that kidnap rich kids and then they, you know, bribe their parents for ransom and everything. And just the way it begins, it's like you there, you are, I mean, I think I played that game from the beginning. I was only able to like stop playing about 3 hours afterwards, because I was that into the game. You just, you don't get thrown into the deep end. You don't have to suddenly know who all these people are. Your number one mission is to escape, because you've now been caught and you've got you and this other guy, your friend, and you basically have to escape this prison that you've been thrown into. So it was just amazing. That for me was really, really well done. And you become, you know, you don't know who you are because the video doesn't tell you much, you know, the trailer. So you sort of start discovering who you are in bits and pieces, and it's really well done. That game and the story behind it stayed with me for a very long time.